Here are the 5 reasons why you should consider changing your artist name. So for me, I'm going to give a personal note on this, but let's just jump into it really fast with number 1, right? So one reason that you want to change your artist name is going to be branding. Okay, so if your current artist name is maybe difficult to remember, to pronounce, and if you have found that that's the case because people are like, "Oh, I can never remember your name.
Mm.
Oh, I don't know how to type your name." This is something that you should consider because if it's really hard for people to find you, you're losing fans. But some of the best names are, the single names. And we even have The Weeknd talking about changing his name, which is obviously an established brand, and going to Abel. Abel's a very, very simple, easy to remember name.
I know there's a lot of like industrial bands and stuff that I wish that their names were a lot simpler back in the day, but they never changed their names. So, yeah, I think that your name and being able to, relay that to fans, is really tricky until people caught on to when you're taking the vowels out of a word to make a shorter name like a mastercraft or something, you know what I mean? Like one of these groups. Just have something simple that people that can understand and find and search easy.
All right, so if this is not the only reason, right? So another reason why you
Still,
may want to consider changing your artist name, well, number 2, for just personal growth, right? So in the Weekend example, he's talking about, well, I just want to shed this old identity. I think even Katy Perry, it wasn't so much her name, it was her hair. She had this whole thing about her hair, and she's like, I have this Katy Perry hair that I can't stand, and I want to shave my head. And so she went with the very, very short hair and she went blonde and she did this whole thing. So, in any case, it's the same kind of your personal growth as an artist. And I think that's completely understandable. But then the question comes, well, does it make more sense for you to completely change your name or maybe just start a side project if you need to kind of explore this other version or a certain phase of your life that you're in?
I mean, if you have, no following and you're just kind of starting out and something's not working and you want to make that shift, like make the shift. If you are, kind of established or you kind of middle ground, mid tier, and you kind of want to do it, I would consider, starting as a side project or something else and just kind of testing it out. Of course, you can always just if because it's a hard thing, it's a tough thing because if people are all of a sudden getting into you for one style of music and you're changing it because all of a sudden you're going from hip hop to rock music, and that's going to be a huge change for your audience. Like you should just kind of gauge it on that. If you're just kind of all of a sudden, if you're doing like EDM music and all of a sudden you're adding some guitars, maybe you're adding more consistent vocals that weren't there before, well, then you could probably keep your same name and just kind of work some of the stuff in. So just, I would judge it by kind of like that standard.
All right. So now, if you are still thinking, well, maybe I need to change my name, here is a third reason, which is legal issues. Okay. If your current
Mm,
artist name is already in use by someone else, you could be facing legal issues, and this goes with trademark infringement. So, when we do trademark registrations, or I'm a real lawyer, we do
mm,
trademark stuff all the time, we have to always search and just to see who else is out in the universe, not just who's registered
right.
trademarks, but we need to know if there's someone else who is using your exact name and they've been doing it longer because guess what? They're going to show up as soon as you become a big star and they're going to say, hey, you're using my name. You need to stop. And then you have to do it. So there can be legal consequences. So make sure you do your search on that. And if you find someone else, it's not for sure you need to just run away and change your name because maybe you have priority. Please
Right.
just talk to a trademark attorney about that.
Definitely. And really do it. Like this is your think of it as your business. Like don't put it off like you're lazy or it'll be okay or I'll just do some research and I don't think I, you know, found it and I think I'm good to go. Like don't think you're good to go. Know you're good to go on that. It's your whole business. If you're building up all this goodwill with your, your fans or your customers or whatever it is that you're doing, and then all of a sudden you have to change it because now all of a sudden you became on somebody else's radar and they're going to shut you right down, like just take care of it, take a look at it. It's your business.
Well, and so we call this a knockout search. I'll just add this really fast. So, I go, if I was to change my name, right? So my creative artistic name is Miss Crystal. I also use it for pretty much everything that I do. It's just how I identify. And I go, well, if I decided I wanted to change it, I don't want to be Miss Crystal at some point. Maybe I would just become Crystal and have a unique spelling of my name, KRYSTLE. So I go, I need to do a search. And so I'm like, let's just see what's out there. So I actually did a search of the trademark office, and there's a lot of crystals with ALs. So it's KRYSTAL, and there are crystals doing stuff in, kind of the music class as well as live
Mm.
performance class. So the point just being, it would actually be extremely difficult if I ever wanted to make that switch and just become crystal. So I would just need to know that before I did it.
Selena was brought up. John Cougar Mellencamp had to change his name a bunch of times. You remember like Richie Valens changed name, wasn't like Richie Valenzuela. So a lot of people also just to, record labels used to kind of change artists' names as well, like even midway through their career if it was established. But then you have the power of the record label, and they were literally putting everything on directly with the radio stations. But
Well,
yeah,
so
it's
then
a
with that being said, other than legal issues, right? So then the fourth reason why you might want to consider changing your artist name is just cultural sensitivity, right? So if your current
right.
artist name is just culturally insensitive or if it's offensive, you know,
You're seeing that a lot in country artists. I mean, we saw that Lady
yeah.
Antebellum, and then they changed what to Lady A, and then Lady A had a problem with Lady A, and then you had the Dixie Chicks changing it to the Chicks. So it's a lot in country music.
And then last but not least, if you are considering maybe you need to change your artist name, let's talk about just general evolution. So this kind of goes to the first one in regards to branding and then personal growth. But if you do have an evolution, I think you said it really well in your music, right? So you're going from like mainstream pop and now you're like death metal. Using the same name is going to cause a lot of confusion. I mean, even with like, businesses, right? You're a certain bar, you're a certain restaurant. People have come to expect something with the brand, and if you make a huge change, the people are
Yeah.
just like, "What the hell's going on?"
Perfect example I got right now, and I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble from this from any fans out there, but like Bring Me the Horizon comes to mind as a band that should have probably that Ollie dude should have just started a new band. When they came out, their music was just like so heavy and just like driven and just like this epic hardcore metal kind of rock stuff, and now it's like this synth poppy disco-y like electro, where I would probably like his band a lot more, but I can't get into it just because it's Bring Me the Horizon. You even look at a band like Panic at the Disco. Like when they started, they were a completely different band than where they ended up being, because dude just didn't go solo, and he was just like, I'm just gonna keep the Panic at the Disco name thing going. So like, I don't know. It's tough because I just wish that a lot of it, because they to me, like, when you're talking about the evolution, you're talking about an artist's legacy. When artists do that, they can kind of kill the legacy, if especially the thing that brought everybody to the party. You know what I mean? On that level. Now, again, these are bands that made it to a top tier level. At the end of the day, that I can't. I'm spacing on the Panic at the Disco guy's name, but like that dude was like singing with Taylor Swift and had a huge hit with her. So it's tough. Don't ruin your legacy though.
So, I mean, some interesting counterpoints as far as maybe why you don't, but then there are a lot of why maybe you should. So, if you are considering, maybe it's time to change your artist or band name. Well, hope you found this helpful.